Welcome to the beginning of our fall season of Entrepreneur Breakfasts. We have several new members to our group, we want to welcome them and thank you for coming, what I know will be a very interesting session this morning. And we're going to change formats a little bit. And with that, I would like to also welcome our webcast viewers literally all over the world this morning. Special good morning, it's more like good afternoon, to all our friends at the ESYNE Business Accelerator in Athens, Greece, and my friend Andreas. So good morning, Andreas, good morning, Greece, and good morning, Europe. For those of you who are awake so far this morning, you might notice we're in some new digs. And we have moved here thanks to Jeremy Ellenbogen. Jeremy, say hi. We'd like to thank Jeremy and all his staff here at the 721 Media Center for hosting this, for having us here. And it was our desire to keep this breakfast here in Kingston where we began. And it looks like we're going to be able to make that happen. This is a phenomenal facility, and those of you who would like more information about this facility, I'm sure Jeremy would be happy to give you a tour and show you what goes on here in depth and personal. And again, my heartiest thanks to Jeremy and his staff. These breakfasts would not be possible without the generosity of our sponsors. And if our sponsors are here, I'd just like them to raise their hand and for us to acknowledge them at the end. And I'm just going to read them, and then we can give them a round of applause at the end. Sally Ackerman, Steve Ackerman is here. Rosenbaum Media Group, SUNY Ulster, Rondout Savings Bank, Ulster Savings, Sawyer Savings, and the Mid-Hudson Federal Credit Union. Can I hear a little round of applause for those folks? Now for the sales pitch. If you or your company would like to be a sponsor of these breakfasts, we'll be happy to accept your donation. We have lots of room for you. Special thanks to Maggie and Natalie for doing registration this morning from Hudson Valley Technology Development Center. And I am also very happy and proud to see several members of the HVCFI Board of Directors here this morning. Rick Deal, say hi. Steve Young, Carolyn Hansen, I know you're here someplace, Carolyn. There you are. Tom Phillips and Don Cott. We have been trying all summer to get a board meeting together, and schedules and timing just haven't worked, so maybe we could stay after this and get together for a few minutes. Today's program is of special importance to me, and to the HVCFI, and to our region. I've been told that getting this number of the regional community colleges presidents together at one time is like herding cats. Trust me, it's true. But before we get to that part of the morning's activities, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Don Perry. Where's Don? There you are. I can't see a thing with the lights. Don's been working tirelessly with us on the March-announced Wind Power Initiative, and Don is going to bring you up to speed on what the WPI has been doing, how we are progressing, and we'll go from there. I have to operate the projector, so we're going to switch.
Good morning, everyone. Well, it's been a little bit like what we did on our summer vacation here for the Wind Power Initiative. It has been a very, very busy time since we first made the announcement back on Earth Day, April 22nd, that we would be starting for the Hudson Valley and New York and parts unknown, this Wind Power Initiative. Basically, as you may or may not know, we have centered the Wind Power Initiative with all of the community colleges in the Hudson Valley as our kind of the primary test bed for us in terms of some of our activities. We've also partnered with NYU Polytechnic Institute as our lead academic partner to try to provide some structure for some of the research initiatives that we're undertaking as part of WPI. We've also been very busy this summer reaching out to other potential partners and collaborators, both in New York City as well as out on Long Island, who are interested because they're all looking at wind as something potentially for job creation and part of this new green economy. One of our bigger trips this summer was to the American Wind Energy Association, where we were able to meet with their executive staff and talk about what it is we're interested in at the Wind Power Initiative and what it is AWEA is doing and how we might be able to work together. And that was a very interesting discussion, because essentially what we found is that the Wind Power Initiative is coming in and filling a niche that not even the American Wind Energy Association is focused on. WPI is looking at commercial, industrial, institutional, and multifamily residential users with a power need of 50 to 500 kilowatts. We're looking at innovative turbine designs that can generate that kind of power for those kinds of users in highly densely populated areas, urban and suburban. The American Wind Energy Association is focused on two segments. They're looking at utility scale wind turbines, which begin at about 1.5 megawatts and up, and they're looking at what's called small wind. They define small wind as wind turbines between 1 kilowatt and 100 kilowatts. But effectively, they're really focused on the 1 to 10 kilowatt range of wind turbines. You're mostly familiar with the 1 to 10 kilowatt range of wind turbines because that's typically what you see out there in the marketplace, other than the utility scales. We're looking in the middle. We're looking at 50 to 500 kilowatts. And American Wind Energy Association was really quite surprised because nobody in their association is really in that target market. They're also surprised that we're focused on urban wind because no one is really looking at urban wind. They're all looking at rural, or they're looking at suburban, where you have 3-acre minimum, looking at mostly off-grid type applications where you can put a wind turbine on an 80-foot tower. We're looking at applications in urban and densely populated areas because we think there's something there that isn't exploited yet that could be, that has great potential. And as we're talking about distributed wind generation, where we're trying to generate power where it's being used, we're also focused on a segment in the marketplace where turbines are bigger than small wind turbines have habitually been built for, but smaller than the utility scale. And so in our discussions with them, and we spent quite a long time with them, it looks like we have an opportunity to help them, as well as the field, develop this whole area of this middle specialty of urban wind. One of the other things we've been engaged in this summer is what I call the listening tour. We've gone around to the various community colleges, and we still have a couple more trips to finish on that score. But essentially, we're trying to codify our relationship, leading to a memorandum of understanding and what we, the WPI, will be providing to the colleges and what the colleges will be providing as part of their participation in WPI. And there'll be some more announcements on that score as we move through the fall. We've also been codifying our research initiative. And Les, if you've got those slideshows, the PowerPoint. Oh, great. The very first thing that we've discovered as we've gone into this area is that no one really understands how wind impacts the built environment very well. No one has really built extensive models of urban areas very well so that we can see the potential flows of winds. One of the things that we've been trying to find is going through the literature and kind of seeing what's available. And some of these slides, only 3 of them here, we're going to show you, give you a sense of the potential for urban wind. This is just a very simple graphic that's looking at 1-story, 2-story, and 3-story buildings and how wind impacts those buildings and creates various eddies and flows. Next slide. This is kind of what we're talking about. Right now, the typical wind turbine company is focused on If it's looking in a built environment, as I said, putting something on an 80-foot tower, and you're looking at laminar flows. But in a city, when wind hits a building or moves over a building, it creates updrafts, downdrafts, and eddies. Next slide. Each of these areas gives us a potential, if we design turbines right, a chance to harness wind in those areas. We can harness the winds that are hitting the buildings and moving down or moving up or creating the backwashes behind them. We can harness the buildings or the wind as it's being deflected around building obstacles. But all of this needs to be studied in greater detail, and we need to be able to build a three-dimensional representation of what a city looks like so that we can integrate where's the wind flow, how is it flowing, and where is the best place for us to place turbines in order to harness it. This is the primary focus for at least the next year of the Wind Power Initiative, trying to understand these wind flows and develop three-dimensional maps of a city. We're going to start with the community colleges as being an easier place to begin to look at building these 3D representations and work our way up to the holy grail, which is New York City itself. And why is that important? Well, aside from the power implications, right now one of the big headline items is this latest terrorist threat to Homeland Security. Well, if you understand the way wind flows in a built environment, you may be able to intercept or understand how potential threats to that environment, if you were to let sarin gas out at a subway station in Midtown Manhattan, what are the wind flows and where would that stuff carry to? You may be able to understand how you can deflect those wind flows in order to contain that contamination. This is a representation also of our latest manufacturer who's interested in participating in the WPI. What's interesting here is that this looks nothing like your traditional wind turbine. And yet, when you consider the way that wind is flowing into buildings, around buildings, the eddying effects, something like this might in fact be very practical, very useful in that kind of an environment. And so we're very happy to announce that Baker Wind Energy Company out of San Mateo, California, is our latest inductee into the Wind Power Initiative. They'll be participating with us, providing us with one of these Model 3s in order to try to study whether or not this will really work in that environment and how we can improve this design so that it is much more effective in what it is we're trying to do. So that's kind of the short update of what we've been doing over the last several months and kind of where we're headed. The idea is that by the end of the year, next year, we should have a three-dimensional model of the city of New York that we can plot wind as it comes into that city, as well as the wind generated by the city. We're not talking politicians, but we're really talking about the ventilating systems, the chiller systems, and what have you. As the air comes out of buildings, again, a unit like this might be very effective at capturing the exhausts coming off those buildings, and it may be a way for us to create zero net energy skyscrapers using their own air exhausts. Wes, all right, thank you.
Some of you may know this past Tuesday, President Obama visited the Hudson Valley Community College up in Troy. His visit is of particular relevance, obviously, here this morning, as we've convened this esteemed panel, which could make its way up to the podium. And I'd like to read just some very brief excerpts from his speech while the panelists are getting themselves situated. And I guess we can turn off one of the laptops so we don't have the light shining in their eyes. Now you may ask, and I am not President Obama, why are we here in Hudson Valley? We're here because this is a place where anyone with the desire to take their career to a new level or start a new career altogether has the opportunity to pursue that dream. This is a place where people of all ages and backgrounds, even in the face of obstacles, even in the face of very difficult personal challenges, can take a chance on a brighter future for themselves and for their family. I know that for a long time, politicians have spoken of training, of job training as a silver bullet, of college as a cure-all. It's not. I don't want to pretend that it is. We know that. But we also know that in the coming years, jobs requiring at least an associate's degree are projected to grow twice as fast as jobs requiring no college experience. Think about that. Twice as fast. We will not fill those jobs or keep those jobs here in America without graduating more students, including millions more students from community colleges. And that was one of the primary reasons we're focused here this morning. So with that, I would like to introduce our moderator for this session, the ever-tan, the tall, the debonair, on the cover of a national magazine, Mr. Arthur Anthonison, who is the president, chairman, guru, god of the American Community College Trustees Association. So with that, Arthur.
Les, that was grand, high, exalted, mystic ruler. You know, when I was asked to participate, actually I think I asked Les to participate because this is a historic event, and Les is absolutely right when he says trying to get, you know, 4 college presidents in the same room for an event like this is almost impossible. And I did speak with Mamie Galladay last week here in Albany, and she would have been here. However, she is out of the country and extends her apologies, and she has someone else here to represent her. So I asked Russ to, you know, prepare some remarks for me so we could keep this on schedule. So he gave me this morning. And so but I will introduce the panel, but we want to keep this on schedule as well so we can have enough time for questions. And with that, let me introduce our panel, the president from Ulster County Community College, Don Cott, and our recently, Cliff Wood from Auckland County Community College was recently nominated to receive the Northeastern Regional Award for the nation from the ACCT as being the top CEO of the region. And he will be in San Francisco to compete to become the national. And then we have Dr. Bill Richards from Orange County Community College. I had the privilege of being on the search committee that hired Bill. And I'm sorry, but I didn't get your name. Perhaps you could introduce yourself.
I'm Dr. Ellen Galligan. I'm Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs at
Okay.
Sullivan County Community College.
So that is our panel. We will be asking them to speak for 5 minutes each, Les? Is that 5 minutes each, if we can do that? And that's my job. Being the trustee, one of our responsibilities are to hire and fire presidents. So maybe that's why Les asked me to do this. And how would you like to start? Any particular order, or shall we start with you, Don? Ladies first? Okay, ladies first.
Sullivan has been doing a lot of good things, so let's start with Sullivan.
Well, thank you very much. So the topic is alternative energy. And the question is, what is Sullivan County Community College doing about that? Well, as far as a decade ago, we began to look at how could we possibly keep up with the fiscal responsibility of running a campus that was 100% electric heat. And it was just sapping at our resources. So the Buildings and Grounds took the lead on looking at alternative sources of energy, resulting in an entirely retrofitted campus with geothermal HVAC. About 5 years ago, the well fields were finished, the machinery was hooked up, and we literally abandoned one half of the campus one summer while everything was retrofitted, and the following summer abandoned the second half of the campus, moved everything out into the field house and back, and now we have a very comfortable HVAC system that keeps our entire campus air conditioned in the summer and comfortable in the winter. And most recently this summer we connected the field house, our The Dormitory Corporation owns the adjacent Lazarus I. Levine Residence Hall. It's also connected to our system, so that was the first thing that got us going in the direction of alternative energy, and has certainly made a huge impact. Other things that have happened on our campus, we are in the process of watching the vertical shaft wind turbine owned and developed by Mr. Ayakita emerge on at the entrance of our campus. It is going to be providing a significant source of energy to our campus, as well as a wonderful enhanced learning environment for our students. We have designed a green technology park that will encourage light manufacturing, hopefully some R&D, so that there's a synergy between what's happening on our campus and what's happening in the real world, and students will see an immediate connection between what they're learning and what they need to know at work. This summer we developed a community garden. It's quite large. It was very successful, but what is really beautiful about it, it was initiated by the request of students. So students worked on the community garden this summer. The harvest is continuing. That's going very well. We have done an entire audit of the campus, including installation of energy misers, ambient lighting, anything we can think of to reduce the cost of energy consumption on campus, and to demonstrate to students that sustainability is a way of life. Just as much of that demonstration is coming from the students' requests, however, so that when you go to our cafeteria and the plastic looks a little bit strange, it's made out of potato-based biodegradable materials, because students don't want us throwing away plastic any longer. So all of these kinds of issues have to do with how the community and the community college, internal and external community, are talking about being responsible for the environment and looking at alternative energies. What's bigger, actually, is we developed a program called Green Building Maintenance and Management. Our first graduates of that program will be graduating from the college this May. Students are learning to make responsible decisions for using 21st century equipment, and for maintaining that equipment, and for making management decisions about what is the important kind of equipment that would be used in a green building. As you know, in New York City, any new construction or reconstruction of 20,000 square feet or more requires the incorporation of green materials. We need a workforce that knows how to take care of the bamboo floors, or to make a decision for the employer about how many solar panels would be appropriate on a rooftop if you were going to add a new bank of computers. What is the payout? What is the cost? What is the wattage that'll be generated? So there's a huge number of areas of responsibility that someone in a green building maintenance and management job would need to know. Courses include such topics as AC/DC, site management, environmental economics, commercial electric and renewable energy systems, how to manage wastewater runoff from the roof. Our most exciting new program is the Wind Turbine Technology AAS degree. When I receive Les's letter later today saying how many internship sites he's going to help us find, we need 4 at least, Les, we'll have our last piece of paper that we need to submit the wind power technology program to the State University of New York for approval. We are looking to hire our first wind technology instructor to start in the spring semester, so that person has an opportunity to buy the appropriate materials, schedule the courses, and recruit students for the fall semester. Before I pass the mic to my colleagues, I need to say that, of course, we're offering non-credit courses in things like photovoltaics, or the assessment of the carbon footprint in different industries. But we're sharing in the Hudson Valley Educational Consortia those non-credit courses, and we will be sharing the Green Building Maintenance and Management and the Wind Technology program. So you will be able to go to Orange, Ulster, Sullivan, or Rockland County Community College to learn those technologies, to get those degrees, because we will be able to share using ITV and online courses, the technical courses, so that this is, while we're starting this piece, other campuses have other initiatives, but ultimately it's cost effective and being shared so that all of the students in the Mid-Hudson region have access to these programs.
Sorry, we were mumbling over here.
It's okay. Oh yeah, Hudson Valley.
Arthur, do you want to do questions for Ellen, or just keep going?
we save the questions for
Save the questions for last. Les, for no. I get to talk to Ellen all the time. One of the things that Les forgot to mention about Arthur is that he is a trustee at SUNY Orange, and we are so pleased and honored, actually, to have Arthur as the chairman of the board of trustees for the American Community College Trustees Association, because he has, we now have at Orange a direct connection with the big guys nationally and Washington. So let me start with our umbrella concept at SUNY Orange. We have a strategic plan for it's a 5-year plan for the future success of the college, 2009 to 2014, and there's only 5 strategic priorities that the college is working on. Whatever number 6 is might be a brilliant idea. It probably is, and we still love you. We're just not going to give you any money to do number 6, but we are going to be frightfully successful with 1 through 5. One of those 5 is just simply called our Sustainability Master Plan, and it covers everything you can imagine from across the curriculum changes that we have started a while back and continue to make. We've got plans into the future to change our curriculum, not only in the sciences and engineering and things that you would think would be the most applicable, but there's modules in courses in literature and history and in the fine and performing arts things, because those students also will probably go out to the workforce, and it's no matter what they do, even if they're building or maintaining their own home, it's handy to know some of these strategies, or at least know about the philosophy. The sustainability plan covers, in addition to the curriculum, the types of products that we buy at the college or won't buy, the kinds of food we order, how we maintain the grounds and buildings at the campuses. So it's a very broad things, and it's very exciting initiative for us. One of the things that we're most excited about is we just begun, in fact, last month, the construction of a new campus at Newburgh. It's a beautiful site overlooking the Hudson River at the eastern edge of the city of Newburgh. Our first new building, Kaplan Hall, is being constructed there, and I believe this is true. It was awarded the largest single NYSERDA grant. I think it was about more than $250,000 to help us design how friendly this building was going to be to the environment. It includes just about every energy efficient technology you can think of, with the exception of geothermal, and we tried very hard, but in the end we simply did not have the acreage to take care of all the engineering and the piping and things for that, but it has just about everything else. We believe that when we're finished with construction in about 1.5 years with Kaplan Hall, it will be on the order of 45% more efficient than the current buildings that we have. And we're doing, like, not to the extent that Sullivan's doing, but we're doing some retrofitting for technology at the Middletown campus. Our next capital project there will be a 110,000 square foot Center for Science and Engineering and Technology. That, because Middletown is a much larger campus, we will have the room to do geothermal plus all the other energy-saving devices there. We have a very active engineering club. 2 years ago, the students and the faculty built a And it was a toy. They experimented, but they got to learn a lot about the things. It's a solar-powered race car. And we took it last summer to Lime Rock in Connecticut. And this little thing, it's not very big and it's very light, but it will sustain 55 miles an hour for about 2 hours. And watching it go around the racetrack was great. Just last summer, to get ready for the quadricentennial along the Hudson River, they built a solar-powered boat. And it was put in the water last on the 4th of July at Newburgh, in fact. And things. So those are very exciting. But they are, at one level, they are toys, but they are part of the laboratory, the learning laboratory for students, not just in engineering and the sciences, but other students contribute as well if they're interested. And they don't have to be engineering majors, but they can join the engineering club to work on projects like this. We're really excited, and I know that Cliff is going to talk more about this, but the four of us here formed a few years ago what's called the Hudson Valley Education Consortium, and it is a technology-driven audio and visual system that we can share with one another what are, in some cases, very expensive programming that we do not have to duplicate among the 4 counties, and we hope that other colleges join in the consortium. But the courses that Ellen described that are up and running this fall are really exciting. They're supported by a grant from NYSERDA as well. But I'll turn it over to Cliff and let him talk a little bit more about the consortium and these courses.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. This is an exciting time to be involved in community colleges, and I'm going to start out by telling you that is I had the opportunity to be in Washington on Monday, and you're always a little skeptical about the federal government, but I was in 2 meetings, one with the Assistant Secretary of Education, who is a former community college president, and then the Assistant Secretary of Labor, who was previously the Commissioner of Higher Education for the state of New Jersey, and my friends in New Jersey, where I was for 17 years, said she was a great proponent of community colleges. And I tell you that because there really is this commitment that the President has made to community colleges is real. And what's really important for us as community colleges is what he is expecting is that we share resources. And there is this strong link that he has said has to happen between the Department of Labor and the Department of Education. And I heard that from both of these assistant secretaries. And I'm saying that because there is money, and it's certainly stimulus money, and it really is, preference is going to be given when community colleges work with their local business and industry to create programs that make those communities not only increase the workforce and stimulate the economy, but also share resources to make that a better community. And these days, of course, you're talking about a green community. So when you come to Rockland Community College, the sign says, "Welcome to RCC, a green community, recycle carefully." And we take that very seriously, and we're working, as you'll hear me say, with a number of our community groups to do these things to really make sustainability real for us. And we're part, like I'm sure these other colleges are, of the American Association of Colleges and Universities has a sustainability initiative, as does former President Clinton, a sustainability. And if you're part of that, you're required to do a number of things. Fortunately, in our county has now said that we're going to build green buildings. And in the fall of 2007, we opened our first new facility at Rockland in 28 years. And it is a LEED certified building, and we're very proud of that. It's a 100,000 square foot technology center. The thing, though, as you begin to build green buildings, this was all new to me, you realize that it really is a total educational effort, because all of a sudden we had to retrain our maintenance staff. We have a great maintenance staff, and we're fortunate we have a very clean campus. But these people who have done that sort of thing over the years have created their own little concoctions to clean or take up stains on the car or do all these things. And that doesn't work, because again, if you're committed to having a green building, you're committed to using green products and a whole kind of different products and a different way to maintain your buildings. And that's also true on the grounds. I like for our grounds to look nice, and I've had to learn to live with a few more dandelions, because on our campus we no longer use any commercial fertilizers. Everything that we use has to be natural, and we're reminded of this. Your students are your best critics sometimes, because we have an organic gardening club who have asked last year for 3 times the amount of space that they have, because they have so much interest. And of course, they're always looking at what we're doing with grounds. Are we using anything that's not natural and that's not healthy? So they remind us of that. The other thing is, and I mentioned, and I say this for a purpose, that we hadn't had a new building in 28 years. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, and we begin with a convocation on Friday. But we went through about 25 years of what I call benign neglect with our facilities. So all of our roofs need to be replaced. We have 5 roofs, and that's not an inexpensive project. But what we are doing is we plan for redoing those roofs. We're working with Orange and Rockland. We're working with IBEW to come up with a joint project, so that as we replace those roofs, we're also putting on solar panels, and we're going to be a model for our local IBEW with our field house roof, so that, again, people know that that's a possibility in the area, and it's really, really a good thing to do. So as a community college, and it's one that really believes in shared resources, I know that we have to model both for our students, our faculty, and our staff, the community, what it is that we're going to teach. And we're very fortunate to be in the consortium that Bill mentioned, because I especially appreciate Sullivan this morning and what they've done. And this woman knows a lot about curriculum and the programs that they've put together that we will be able to share. We started a consortium, and we were very fortunate to get some funding for that about 4 years ago, to have this educational consortium so that we could share resources for programs that we needed for the public good, but also were very expensive. And it was not an easy process. But one of the things we did with the funding that we got, which is really exciting, and it's available to our business partners in the community, we all have now interactive television studios where you can have a program at one campus and others can watch and participate in a total interactive way. And we want to share those facilities with our community, because we think that it's the right thing to do. And we live in this whole region of the Hudson Valley where we do all need to be engaged in the same sort of sustainability efforts. And so this consortium, we had our first degree program approved. We had to not only get through our own internal politics, and there are always politics with faculty and curriculum and what you're going to teach and who's going to be in charge. And then we had to work through those politics, and then the politics to get the State University of New York to understand what we were trying to do with this consortium, and then with the State Education Department. But now that the first program has been approved, I know that the others are going to move along equally as well. And so it started out that we were looking at Homeland Security initiatives, emergency management, emergency medical services, cybersecurity, but it really, because of the strong technology base and the resources that we have, we now want to move into all these other areas. And I'm a big proponent of start out with non-credit programs, give people opportunities, but hopefully as we design these programs, they could easily become credit programs, because there's going to be more and more students in the credit areas who are looking where the jobs are going to be and the kinds of educations that they're going to have. So I hope that you're comfortable as a business community knowing that we're committed to sharing those resources, and we're very committed to keeping the Hudson Valley green, and we thank you for this opportunity.
Just before I start talking about SUNY Ulster, I just want to talk about Don Perry's presentation when he mentioned the Holy Grail, I believe, and I see a picture of New York in the control room, former control room of RNN. I brought back memories of our kids growing up, and during holiday recess at Christmas time, we'd go invariably down to Manhattan and stand in line in Times Square to buy Broadway tickets. And I can testify personally that there is a wind influence in in Manhattan, and I think we're absolutely on the right trail to look at how we harvest wind energy. We are all 4 campuses part of the Wind Power Initiative, and we're just very, very excited about what that might bring to citizens in New York State, New York City, and actually throughout the country. So We are enthusiastically supportive of that initiative, and we're pleased to continue to work with Les Newman and the Center for Innovation. At Ulster, we've worked with Johnson Controls over the last 2 years to retrofit our campus to be more energy efficient. In fact, I was just walking to a meeting yesterday at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and looked at the solar panels we have on our Senate Gymnasium roof, and that was where our consultants felt that we would have the most payback in terms of the hot water for the women's and men's locker rooms. We are mindful of our energy consumption, and we're doing everything we can to minimize the use of electric energy. We are very excited that in Ulster County, we anticipate an announcement very shortly that a new solar manufacturing company will be coming into the region, part of TSAC and the great work that Vinny Cozzolino is doing here in Kingston, and to bring a number of firms in the solar industry to the Mid-Hudson Valley. And we've volunteered to be a demonstration site for a solar field. Initial conversations lead us to believe that it will be, the solar field will be equivalent to 5 football fields in size. And we're locating in a piece of property that's very close to the main campus. We're not going to put it on the main campus, but in this other piece of property. And it's designed that NYSERDA will pay 75% of the building cost. We'll borrow the remaining amount of money, which we can pay back in savings over 5 years. The facility, I understand, is warranted for 20 years, and the plan is that this solar field will produce enough energy for the campus to not be reliant on Central Hudson in the future. And we're very, very excited about that, and hopefully next year at this time I can tell you how well that solar field is operating. What I really came prepared to talk about, though, is what we're doing in our continuing education program, offering non-credit courses in sustainable energy. I do have a series of brochures here at the sign-in table that will talk specifically about the number of courses that we offer. We've been teaching this now for at least 2 years in solar, wind, and geothermal installation. In this past academic year, 2008-09, over 300 students enrolled in these courses. We actually took our wind installation program to Pennsylvania for a special weekend course. These are all certified courses, either through the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, International Ground Source Heat Pump Association, and we're now qualified for Interstate Renewable Energy Council certification for these courses. They've been very popular, and in fact, this past year, we received a $450,000 grant from NYSERDA to train trainers at the other community colleges in our region, including Dutchess and Westchester, not represented here today. But we're delighted to share in this technology, offer these courses to residents of the Mid-Hudson and Lower Hudson River counties, and we just see that this is a place that we want to be. Our long-range plans are to take our credit-free program and weld it into our credit offerings. We are very excited about Prison Solar in Highland, just getting started, and we want to work with them to train their employees in a credit program in terms of solar manufacturing, and hopefully next year at this time I can tell you how well that's going as well. So this is a very exciting time, I think, for community colleges. We're known to be nimble and responsive, I think, to the needs of the community, and when it comes to sustainable energy, I think we're doing our part as we should be. I served on a panel last fall about green technology and jobs in this arena. It's just mind-boggling how individuals in our society will be gravitating toward green technology and see their careers and their futures related to this industry. And so we're very proud to be part of what's going on out in the real world. And before I turn the mic over to Arthur, I just want to say that Bill Richards' background is both in English and physics. So for those of you who are technology oriented, we're going to take all of the physics questions to Dr. Richards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. How about another hand for the panel before we open it up to questions? All right, Les, I guess you want the questions to be directed through this mic as well? So, okay. Right now you can, okay, all right. Okay, where are the questions? Let me get out of the light here so I can see. Who would like to direct the first question? Les, did you have a question? I can't, well, wait a minute. We can't let this panel off that
No,
easy.
I'm going to cheat, Arthur.
Okay.
My question to the panel is, there's such a new influx of students into the community colleges, which is a wonderful thing for our region and our community. Where do you see the outcome? Where do you see the jobs? Where do you see the progression for these students?
Who would like to take that?
Not a physics question.
Well, I can start. Among the fastest growing industries in the Hudson Valley, of course, is healthcare. And we're all about expanding our health professions programs, but we're also expanding current technology programs and adding everything that you heard this morning to that curriculum as well. I think that we have a very good chance here in New York, in the corridor between Manhattan and Albany, if we do everything right, and things are already starting to fall into place, that this could be the next great advanced technology corridor in America. And as companies find that it's too expensive to be in Silicon Valley or things, and they're moving, they're looking for places, and small companies love this region thing. So if we do it right, and that's to answer part of Les's question, part of the influx of students now, and we're all just amazingly up in enrollment, those opportunities to educate students and keep them right here in the Hudson Valley are very exciting for all of us.
At Sullivan, our strategic plan is based on growing green technology programs and healthcare programs. So in addition to wind turbine technology next year, we hope to have our first respiratory care therapy program. So we're going in the same direction.
It sounds like an echo, but obviously healthcare. And also we have a new program this fall that we instituted in environmental science with several options. And I think what we have to do is figure out how to support those programs and really work toward making New York State better for small businesses. And I work with a group in Rockland County, the Rockland Economic Development Corporation, and that's a continuing job, is to try to be sure that their process is to keep small businesses here. And I think, as Bill said, people would like to stay in this area if they can afford to live here and if they can afford to have a job. But I also think what's exciting about the piece about environmental science, about sustainability, about wind technology and all these things, this is something that young people today are excited about because it's not only a career, it's part of their social conscience. I was thinking about when I was in New Jersey several years ago, and probably some of you who know New Jersey, that probably the biggest single industry in New Jersey is the pharmaceutical industry. And we got approached by the pharmaceutical industry that there was going to be this huge turnover in people to work in chemical manufacturing plants. So we created this very elaborate program in process technology and then trying to recruit students. Well, students don't go to the first grade and say, I want to be, a process technologist, and they just don't understand that. But I think the thing for us to continue to do is to create an awareness that we are creating these jobs that make this kind of, it sounds idealistic, but I believe it, the kind of community, the kind of state we want to live in. And so therefore we have to have jobs, we have to have educational programs that are related to the environment, to, and to sustainability, to keep people here and make it a good place to be. So that's certainly what we're going to focus on at Rockland Community College.
I failed to mention, and for those of you who live in Ulster County, hopefully you've read about our plans eventually to have student housing. I think all the Sullivan already has. Orange and Rockland are exploring it as well as Ulster. But very early on in our discussions about student housing in Stone Ridge, our environmental studies club members came to me and said, this is an opportunity for SUNY Ulster to be a leader in green technology, and we want you to pledge that the student housing complex will be LEED certified, which the board and I were certainly willing to do. And if that time comes when we do have student housing in Stone Ridge, the facilities will be LEED certified. And I think that initiative among our student body is indicative of what youngsters now are tuned into. They are tuned into a better environment, into green technology. And as I said, it's astronomical, the number of jobs that will be related to sustainable energy in the future. I just think that through our programs, individuals will be trained to install alternative energy products. Engineering programs, I think, will be robust because of the new technology. One of the things that I have talked about continuously as president is the challenge, I think, to our public schools for students to be more proficient in math and science. And this is a real issue in our society. We had a provost at State University of New York who said math education is in the gutter throughout the country. And I very honestly, I blame the parents who will hear their child say, I can't do math, and let the child come to that conclusion, and he or she never really develops any kind of mathematical prowess. And I think that is a disservice to our country and to our future. And so I think community colleges play a very vital role. Unfortunately, so many of our recent high school graduates come to us and have to take remedial math courses. I think that's a sin, and I think that's something that we should be addressing. I've talked with the local public superintendents of schools who understand that we have to do a better job in math and science education in our country, and I think the community colleges play a very important role in that challenge.
Thank you, Don. I see a question here. Just please state your name and where you're from.
Thank you. I'm Rick Deal. I am from Connecticut, and my question has to do with the large industrials of this country. I happen to be on the board of Hudson Valley Center for Innovation as well, so I've been thinking about this whole area for a long time, and I'd like to bring the large industrial into the equation here by mention, in that they really, as I see it, have three reasons to be very interested in what we're talking about today. One is the ability to hire more well-trained new employees coming out of the community colleges here. And this applies to companies, industrials across the country. They're also very interested in being good corporate citizens. And thirdly, they have to be alert to new markets, growing markets, new opportunities for their ability to develop new technology, new components, new systems to address things like the solar energy market and wind power. So since I insert myself in this chasm between the large industrial as a practice in my business and new technology, and this initiative fits right in a unique way in terms of large industrials wanting to be green, and I'm working with several in this field as well, in many industries, from food to transportation to aerospace and so on. I'm interested in asking the panel which companies besides Johnson Controls, which was mentioned once by Don, have indicated any interest to you leaders with respect to their involvement. And that might be instructional to all of us, but certainly very great interest to me if there are any that you've dealt with so far.
Who would like to start?
You know, I mentioned our solar field, which is very exciting, and our faculty are very excited that we're taking that initiative. While I haven't dealt directly with Central Hudson. My understanding through this solar manufacturer that Central Hudson is a partner in looking at alternative energy sources. And during that conversation, I was really kind of taken back because you would think that's counterintuitive for an energy company to be embracing alternative energy. But evidently they are, and they will work as a partner with us as we go down this new endeavor. And I give them credit for having their eyes open rather than eyes shut and saying, you know, don't take business away from us. They are working in partnership with alternative energy sources, and I think that's a good thing.
Rick, I'll take a different tack on your question. I think all four colleges that you see represented here can, and we have, put together a very, very compelling story about partnership between the public sector that we represent and the private sector, and whether they are large or small or medium-sized companies, that in which everyone wins. Our students win, the companies win, and there's all kinds of partnerships. We're going to take next summer, the largest building that we have at the Middletown campus is a field house. It's 120 or 30,000 square feet, and it has just a huge energy hog in a swimming. And it's very nice. It's a swimming pool, but as you all know, it takes a lot of energy to keep the water things. Well, fortunately for us, it's a flat roof. It's a very big area roof, and we're going to take that entire building, including the swimming pool, off the grid. And that's a partnership with several small companies. They're technology-based and things, and Central Hudson and other providers are helping as well. So I agree with Don that while it might seem counterintuitive in the beginning, they're looking at ways to stay in business as we take buildings like this monster off the grid. There are other areas, though, that in this compelling case last year, Citizens Communication gave us a gift. We could never afford this. It's probably $1.6 million or $1.7 million. It's a telecommunications lab at the Middletown campus, and we took that, and it's their engineers all over the country that designed and things. They got their partners then to contribute all of the equipment, and we have a promise from the CEO at Frontier that they will maintain the currency of that laboratory for 10 years. And that's an absolutely wonderful thing. We now are in the process of extending that telecommunications lab into a converging and advanced technology laboratories. It'll be the hub of things, including a lot of green technology and things that's associated with that. So the case that we can, and we're a beta site for many things, as Don mentioned earlier, for wind power and things. So companies realize, I think, that from their perspective, a pretty small investment in our campuses can yield really good things. And we entertain their prospective customers. They come in and look at the technology and things. So everybody wins.
So a question here.
Shelley Zimbler, Zimbler Associates, financial advisor sometimes and military historian. My thanks to Don, who's hosting a seminar for the POWs from World War II, but we'll talk about that another day. Don kind of answered my question about housing on campus, so I'll kind of switch a little bit. And on behalf of the question about industrial economic development here, how can you as educators sit with maybe Lance Madison back there or other members of economic development to attract whether it's small pharmaceutical companies or biotech companies? Seattle, Washington, they're on the cutting edge of cancer cures. And yet, 8-10 years ago, in regards to Cliff's comment, I watched a company, LifeCell, which has recently been taken over, fly over Ulster and go down to Ramsey. They probably have 300, 400, 500 employees now. And that's become a pretty large pharmaceutical area with people, as I said, on the cutting edge of new pharmaceutical programs. So, as a brief question, how can you as educators work with the local economic people so that we can attract more business to the area?
Thank you. I'll tell you, I haven't recently, but over the years, have been at meetings with prospective employers considering Ulster County as a site for their expansion or relocation. And I make it very clear that the community college wants to be the trainer for their new facility in whatever it might be, whether it's pharmaceutical, biotechnology, solar technology. We'll find the instructors will be there in their plant, or they can use our campus or our extension centers to educate the employee, train the employee for what needs to be done. I think all 4 campuses respond that way to anyone who is considering relocation, and we want to be their workforce trainer and their partner in developing their business in Ulster County. I'm not embarrassed to just make that offer and be in any meeting with Lance or his staff and trying to convince individuals that this is a great place to locate their business. What I think people will realize, as businesses do when they look at Ulster County, is it's not only a great place to have a business, but it's a great place to live and grow a family. And I think we have that going for us in this part of New York State.
We all participate in SUNY workforce development grants as well. So while we're partnering with our economic development people in county, we also have the ability, when a small manufacturer, for example, says that I need my employees to have training on Spanish in the workplace, or their math skills need to be improved, and they really can't afford the investment at that moment, we have the ability to work with SUNY, where there's a pool of money for the employer. So that SUNY provides the money for the training, we provide the training, and the employer comes out ahead, and every one of us does that.
One of the things I've learned the last couple of years, and as we've had to look at our budgets and they get tighter, is to be conscious of where our resources come from. And we're in a county where our county really does give us about 1/3 of that budget. Rockland County, as probably many of you know, is geographically the smallest county in New York State, and we have a population of about 300,000. Our largest employer is Wyeth Pharmaceuticals. They have 5,000 employees, and then it's Avon with 1,500, Orange of Rockland with 12. We're the 6th largest employer in the county. So I'm very conscious of the fact about taxes and what that means to the county and what it means to resources. And of course, we're all very nervous who are thinking about this because, Wyeth was just bought by, I've lost the name, who bought Wyeth? Pfizer. And I know that now their chief financial officer is having to go around the world with Pfizer because they're going to decide how many of their 138 manufacturing plants around the world they want to get down to 60. So I'm very conscious that that business needs to be in Rockland, and we need to do everything we can to offer support. And as Don said, we need to be able to provide, train their workforce. We need to be able to do it on site if necessary. We need to make it easy for them to get employees at the local level who can do what they need to do. But because we're in a fairly small geographic area, although with lots of folks, we really need to be the group that we are, and we need to work together. College presidents, are sort of notorious for having big egos, but we really do have to share in what happens in the lower Hudson Valley because it spills over. And, this 87 goes, it starts in New York City and goes all the way up to Albany, and people need to be able to do business along the way. And the other thing that I think is harder, that, we talk about how pleased we are that our students are interested in the environment, and they're interested in open space preservation, and they're interested in all these things. But we also have to help them have a business conscience, to understand that all of this has to be paid for, and that you have to work out a balance between business and the environment, and to educate them so they can make educated decisions and know that all business and all manufacturing is not bad, that, that there's a real possibility, and how that happens. And so I think we have a double challenge there, and I think we just need to be conscious of that we have to be sure that as a community college, we help our community understand that there has to be a balance in terms of business and the sustainability.
Thank you, Cliff. Maybe I just, to answer your question, to take the privilege of inserting something, because it's a bit historical. When Cemetech was trying to locate a chip fab manufacturing facility in the Hudson Valley, they were looking at East Fishkill. And I know Peter Alberghini, since from Orange County Community College, recognized the need. One of the proposals we were making from New York State to attract them was where are they going to get their trained workforce. And it was at that point that I think the consortium began, because 3 of the community colleges in the Hudson Valley collaborated to get a curriculum, and they got it through in time, in record time. It was within 9 months. Don and Bill, you may remember this. And I think it was with that that helped them locate that chip manufacturing plant there. So the community college is providing the trained workforce, which is probably the #1 criteria for a business trying to, or manufacturing and industrial to locate in an area would look to. So with that little historic perspective, I'll turn, oh, you got a mic right there. Okay, go ahead, Vic. Maybe that's what we could do. If you have a question, why don't you come to the mic, and then you can take your question right from the mic. Go ahead, Vic.
Yes, Vic Melville. Just following along a lot of the thrust of the dialogue so far, I can see large businesses being engaged with you as providers and a very important provider. But how about the small industrial, small business area? And I'm thinking of this building. We have a infrastructure here of existing structures that are just in want of redevelopment. How do you see being engaged in the community for across that whole spectrum? And I'm thinking of housing and small industrial, of what's here, how to engage that community, the property owners and the like, to make this transition.
Well, I think we're all plugged into workforce development issues. Individuals in this building who are starting their own business for the first time. We host the Small Business Development Center at SUNY Ulster that services Dutchess and Putnam. Counselors who, for no charge to the individual, give the appropriate advice. We have been the leader and the #1 center in New York State for 7 years in a row with the amount of money that we're generating for investment in business and actual operation of these new small businesses. In addition to that service, I think you also have to look at what we're in business for and our credit programs, the main mission, and what we're training people in our service areas to become, and educating them with the lower division courses, the freshman and sophomore year courses. I often think about our 3 biggest programs: nursing, education, and criminal justice. You know, we're educating police officers, teachers, and nurses. It's like the bedrock of our communities, and I am just so pleased with, we mentioned President Obama being at Hudson Valley Community College on Monday. I am just so pleased that he has recognized, and his staff, the importance of the community college and the role we can play in improving the economy of the United States. And it was a long time in coming. I shared this with our faculty on opening day. I remember reading the New York Times during the 70s and 80s, and Fred Heckinger, their education editor, had a weekly column on Sundays, never mentioned community colleges. They did not exist in this man's mind. And today we have the White House saying we want to invest $12 billion in the development of our community college system because it's so vital to the country. And I think that's great. And as Cliff said, it's a great time to be part of the community college movement.
Just as I said, it was important for the 4 of us and other community colleges and to reach out to Dutchess and Westchester and so forth and expand what we do together. We have to, in our own communities, do what Don said, and we are doing that. We also house the Small Business Development Center on our campus, and we're in the process of negotiating to bring our Workforce Investment Board and what they call Tomorrow's Workplace to the campus, because they need to be with our continuing education division, because they need to be working together, because that's where the resources are, and the resources to support the small businesses are coming through grants to the SBDC. The money. A lot of the money is coming to community colleges to work with small businesses through the Workforce Investment Board, through the Department of Labor. So we have an obligation to be sure that we're part of those resources, both at the state and federal level, in providing the support. Because the good news is we're not in the business to make money. We can't afford to lose money, but we can certainly provide resources, facilities, and expertise to work with small businesses so that what they can't do for themselves as an individual small business, we can bring groups of small business together to do benefit. So we do have to be conscious of our responsibilities to work with state and federal groups who provide resources for small business support and development.
Is that enough on that one? You want me to? In the short time that I've been at Orange, I was just trying to remember how many states that I visited. This is either in conjunction with our Chamber of Commerce or what's called in Orange County the partnership, whose responsibility is to attract new business to the county or to the region, for that matter, and to strengthen and retain current businesses. And again, as all the presidents say, our job is to make a compelling case for education and training for the workforce, to talk about the programs that we have and assure these companies that are thinking about coming into our region that we will do whatever we have to do in order to design whatever it is that they need things. But we also have very strong partnerships. This morning is a good example. This partnership with the Hudson Valley Center for Innovation, with the Wind Power Initiative, whose goals include the development of small companies, the attraction of companies large and small to this region. And again, our role as educators is to provide educational support to those efforts.
John Golgutsky. As time goes on, a lot of these systems will become obsolete. Has anybody given any thought to the recycling and the disposal of solar systems and how that's going to be done?
You're a
The physicist, that's a physicist.
yeah. Yeah, though. Recycling of anything is obviously very important to all of us, and certainly we have to think about the 10 or 20 years from now when we have either newer technology or something's wearing out and we have to think. So the concept and practice of recycling is very important to us, and if we don't have a strategy for it now, we certainly will by the time this technology ends. But it's going to be with us for a long, long time.
I was just going to say that in discussions on the solar field, they're telling me 20 years. 20 years from now, I'm sure we'll have a solution on how to recycle those products. But it's a good point, and we should be mindful of it.
Hello, my name is Danny Gristina. I represent Gentry. I have a question for the panel. In the context of college operations, the largest contributing factor that harms our environment currently is directly related to the excessive consumption of utilities or inefficient consumption of those utilities, especially electricity. I think we all agree with that. In order to understand, monitor, and resolve the problem of inefficiencies, the very first thing that must be done, above all other initiatives, is the implementation of a monitoring and reporting energy dashboard in conjunction and connection to an advanced metering infrastructure network. While many schools are implementing a variety of different sustainability initiatives, advanced metering infrastructure does not seem to be taking priority. It does not. It's not very widespread. What we see is that it's sort of taken a backseat to initiatives that are primarily sponsored or backed by large product pushers like the Siemenses and the GEs, Johnson Controls, et cetera. So I just wanted to ask the panel whether in your colleges, whether you are considering initiatives that have to do with, first monitoring, baselining consumption, understanding when, why, and how energy is used at the different levels, not just at the main campus level, but at the very details and the pieces of the campus, because that's the way in which ultimately the information that this provides is going to make a difference. So I was just wondering whether you can give me your thoughts on that.
That's the very kind of question that led to the geothermal installation in the HVAC system at Sullivan County Community College. Not only do we monitor the use of power and the cost of the use of the power, but that's been shared with other campuses and other people considering a geothermal system. Currently, with the Wind Power Initiative, we are all committed to installing anemometers and other equipment on the 4 campuses so that we can monitor the best selection of sites for wind power. We'll be saving all of that information. We'll be inputting all that information to a common source. We'll also be using that information in courses like environmental economics, as well as places like our own campus statistics classes, to teach students using real-world examples how to use their statistics skills for practical applications. So we're there, we're doing it, we're sharing it, and that's the only way you make an intelligent decision.
I think we've all done, in the last few years, pretty comprehensive energy audits for our facilities and our campuses. In a way, for us at the Newburgh campus, it's a lot easier to start from zero and design things that are much more efficient than what we have, and more difficult to retrofit 50 and 60-year-old campuses to be as efficient as they can. But the monitoring and evaluation of the amounts of energy that we use, the times that we use them, is part of the ongoing result of all the energy audits. And at Orange, the Middletown campus, we're doing things like arranging the schedule of classes to the greatest extent that we can to use wings of buildings, and if we can close down a wing for a time, that's great. The challenge that we have now is that enrollment is peaked at just from 7:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night, and there's very little in the way of shutdown that we can achieve. But we can do simple things like making sure the lights are out and they're not staying on in buildings when they don't need to be. And again, at Newburgh, all of that's going to be automatic, but we're to try to retrofit some of this at Middletown is more difficult. But we are very aware of that and have systems and plans in place to be as efficient as we can in older facilities as well.
And we really must do that as we renovate these older facilities that we have, and also as we ask or build new ones and we show the cost. I wish I could tell you that it was cheaper to build that LEED certified building. It wasn't cheaper. It was more expensive. And what you have to do is do the projections, understand what your savings are going to be so that you can demonstrate, you're going to eventually save resources, but the initial cost is not cheaper than doing it the old way, and therefore you really do have to. We did do an energy audit, and we do monitor what we're using, because we have to show that down the road somewhere, for the people we're getting these resources from, that we're going to eventually save money, and that this really is the thing that we need to do.
Arthur, we have 4 more questions, and then we're going to cut it off.
All right, you heard last, there's time for 4 more questions. They're lining up, gentlemen. So, but I did want to ask a question too, Les. I think I'll be able to get that at the end. Just one, are we accepting questions from the audience that's viewing this? Or were there any questions? I know you have done that in the past. No, sometimes the viewing audience, the distance, the one from Greece. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Virginia Carrick from the Ulster BOCES Adult Career Education Center. I think that the BOCES and the community colleges do a magnificent job partnering when it comes to our high school students, articulation agreements and such that provide for them to ladder up when they graduate from high school and move on and go to school close to home at a quality, affordable institution. Keeping the spirit of collaboration in mind that you've mentioned over and over again today, I was wondering how much collaboration you see in the future between the BOCES and the community colleges' continuing education programs. Very recently, Ulster BOCES and Ulster Community College collaborated on a small wind class that took place. And so I was wondering if you could see that happening in the future between the BOCES and the community colleges' continuing education programs.
Who's going to take this one?
I'll just start because everybody's got, I'm sure, things to say about partnership with the public schools, both the BOCES and then the districts as a whole. And there's just so many initiatives going on that it's hard to enumerate. But I can tell you that at Orange, our academic and student services folks are daily involved with the school districts, and that includes BOCES, of course, on curricular projects and other student activities projects that will benefit all of us. In fact, last night I sat in downstairs from my office on a meeting of college faculty, and these are faculty from the school districts and from BOCES, and they're primarily in language skills, science, and mathematics. What they're trying to do, and there's about a dozen of them each year that we give a little stipend to. What they're trying to do is to narrow the gap that exists, as Don mentioned earlier, between the time or the skills that a student that graduates from high school and enters college things, and sometimes that gap is pretty wide. And our goal is to reduce that gap to zero. And it's not that the schools aren't doing what they're supposed to do or we're doing something else. I think it's that the curriculum that we use, we just haven't been talking as much as we need to talk with one another. And because of the emphasis on Regents exams, for example, in the schools and things that we don't have to worry about, their curriculum is not quite parallel with ours. So we're talking about what are the kinds of things that we have to do, and how can we in the college help the kids. By the time they graduate from high school, they're ready to enter into freshman level college courses. So, and we will. It'll take time, but we will be successful in reducing that gap to zero.
The answer to your question is yes. You know, a perfect example is we have an automotive program. We, I think, have probably the only associate degree in automotive technology in this area. And I've told our academic vice president, a year from now, I have to have a recommendation about whether we discontinue that program or we figure out how we're going to come in and invest the money that we need to do to make it a program that's appropriate for today's work world. Automotive adults, he can't make that decision or recommendation without understanding where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And I think that's true of any programs that we have for adults where there's any kind of duplication, because of the cost of getting those programs up to date and keeping them, you know, with cutting edge technology. It has to be done in a collaborative way. So, you know, it's a simple answer to me. The answer is yes.
Yeah, hi there. John Lonzak from 5D Product Development. I was wondering what you would recommend as a preferred method for entrepreneurs and small businesses to engage with the community college.
I was going to say enroll in a course, look at our continuing ed offerings. Again, the Small Business Development Center, both at Rockland and at SUNY Ulster, are perhaps sources of assistance. We try the best we can to offer courses throughout the county, certainly at the Stone Ridge campus. And if there's a particular issue or problem, pick up the phone and give my office a call.
The other thing, and Janet said it, maybe it's what she's going to say, is certainly to have interns, for us to provide interns, we don't just do it to the big businesses, we do it to lots of small businesses. I think each of us probably have some sort of office of career services, because we have cooperative education internship programs, and we have good students who need experiences, and sometimes a good experience would be in a small new business. So I would encourage you to contact our offices of career services and ask about internships.
I would also suggest that the Hudson Valley Center for Innovation is deeply engaged with each of the community colleges for not interns, we'll get those from the community colleges, but for business acceleration and mentoring services. So we're trying to work hand in hand to make this a collaborative process.
Or call the Dean of Workforce Development, because they'll just tell you everything we just said. You won't have to remember.
Good morning, Jim Cranston from American Reliant Corporation. We're an Ulster County green tech manufacturing startup company. I know you talked a lot about manufacturing training, which is excellent. Do you also have programs set up to act as feeders to the large universities for more technical degrees, much like HVCC has for RPI?
Well, I'll start by saying that associate degrees have articulation agreements with four-year colleges. High schools have programs that feed into community colleges as well as four-year colleges. Continuing education at BOCES have short-term programs that we can consider stackable certificates, so that people who complete certain short-term programs can then articulate those programs into credit for life experience or work experience. So the whole idea is for a continuum of learning, so that we can bring people in with understand the skill set that they bring with them and prepare them for their next goal.
At Orange, about 78% of our student body are what we consider transfer students. They're going to graduate and go on to senior colleges and universities. The rest of our enrollment in credit programs is pretty much in the health professions and in technology programs. But the vast majority are going on for bachelor's degrees. Carolyn.
Hello, Bill. Are you finished with
Yeah.
the prior question, everybody? I'm Carolyn Hansen. I'm on the board of HVCFI, and I'm really happy all of you are here today, and with Arthur, more brain power in this room beyond its normal capacity, I'm sure. Pardon? It's been delightful to listen to you, and this is your softball wrap-up question. And it's something I'm really interested in, because we're in this incredible time of change, and you're so ably demonstrating how you're handling it, and that's what makes such a delight to listen to you today. So you've all talked about the programs that you have in place or that you have approved to put in place, and you've talked about your passion for service and how your organizations support this region. I want to invite any of you who wish to put out here your unapproved hopes that go beyond your current plan. And it could be in programs, operations, government funding, you pick. So, it is. It is.
No, that's a wish list. Yeah, it's a wish list. Yeah, thanks, Carol. Beyond all of the plans that are published and we talk about, one of our dreams, I'll give you two examples of very small things. We're renovating starting next March, in fact, 2 greenhouses, and they happen to be at the Middletown campus, and the portion of the Middletown campus 100 and some years ago was a family estate. It was the Horton family and things, and we are fortunate enough to live there now. But these greenhouses are from 1903, and we're going to maintain the magnificent stone foundation, but then replace everything else and things. So all new glazing, HVAC things, and they're going to be very green, as greenhouses should be. But they will again provide a laboratory for horticulture and biology and botany and things. But our long-term dream that we haven't talked much about is that we want this greenhouse complex to be connected to some of the great universities and research centers in the world, in fact. And we've got 3 started. We're an affiliate now of the Johnson Center in Texas, thanks to Mrs. Johnson and the magnificent work that she does there with our colleagues right here at Westchester Community College, who are connected to other such things. So, and our emphasis is going to be in botany on native species. And our long-term dream is that SUNY Orange will become a wonderful production and research center for native species that don't take much care, and things. Oh, there's several, but I'll let it go at that.
What I was thinking of, I shouldn't be smiling, but wouldn't it be wonderful if we had world peace? But other dreams. I have to go back to my comment in related to education. Is that I hope we really, as a society, address the issue of math and science education. I think that has to be a high priority. We can't accept when Jane or Johnny says, I can't do math, and mom says, oh, that's okay, you're great at football or baseball. We just can't let that continue with the future and the future jobs and occupations in our society. We've got to pay attention to it, and I believe it does start with the parents.
I think just to follow up a little bit on that, Carol, is that, and it's kind of what I wanted to wrap this up with too, a question that really hasn't been touched on, except Bill just did. You know, the community colleges are getting into expanding their mission, and I just heard the word research, and that was going to be my question to the panel. You know, do you see eventually community colleges partnering with the four-year research institutes, which you are doing, and that would be my question with this wind energy. How many of the four-year research institutions are you collaborating with? This is a collaboration all across the board. And do you see some research now being conducted in the community colleges? Now, SUNY would probably shoot me for saying this, but I'll let Cliff start with that one.
In several ways, because we have what we call SUNY Bridge programs, and we send students in the summer to purchase to their computer science and science departments for research programs that community colleges students do. They can then continue as they move on. We also do that in marine biology and marine science with Stony Brook, and we had students this summer out with graduate students from Stony Brook on the Hudson River and on other water projects. And we're currently in the process of working with the Cornell Extension Center to build a new Cornell Extension Center on our campus so that we can do a number of programs with them, integrate our environmental science programs in with Cornell, both through continuing education and offering some bachelor programs that students otherwise would have to go to the northern part of the state for.
Cliff mentioned Purchase and Stony Brook and things. Those are wonderful partners for us, and as is the University of Albany and nanotechnology, who have also internships and use, in the best sense of the term, our students on some of their projects. And we have affiliations with colleges and universities outside of New York on particular projects. We send students to them as well. We collaborate with, this is also a summer and fall project. These are primarily biology and chemistry majors that are doing basic field research in West Nile things. Basically what we're doing in all the wetlands in Orange County and the Hudson Valley is trapping mosquitoes. And the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta gave the college all kinds of really nifty equipment to the biology department. And we analyzed those under the supervision of one of our faculty, analyze the trapped mosquitoes, and you can't imagine the excitement when they find one that fits the genetic and DNA markers for West Nile. And those are very carefully packaged, and then we do the first analysis at Middletown, then they're sent to Albany for further testing, and then to Atlanta. So there's, and this is hands-on, real basic science that students get a chance to participate in at our colleges.
If I can come full swing, Les?
Absolutely.
Wind Power Initiative, the next campus research.
Absolutely.
We need to be quantifying those charts that Don Perry showed you earlier.
Well, thank you all. I want to do two things before we say good morning to you. Number one, none of this would be possible, including HVCFI and all this, without the help, support of my friend and colleague and the chairman of the HVCFI, Tom Phillips, and the Hudson Valley Technology Development Center. So, thank you. Secondly, I don't know about you, but this was phenomenal. You guys did a great job. And I think we'd like to do this on a more regular basis. I think the community needs to understand what the community colleges are doing, their involvement in what's going on, not just locally, but regionally, but nationally as well, and the dramatic positive impact that the community colleges are having on our entire society. So thank you once again for doing this, and thank you, Arthur, for your magnificent job. Next month's program, I believe the date is October 21st. You'll all be getting invitations, and we have a wonderful speaker lined up, and I hope to see you all then, and thank you, Jeremy, and the crew here at 721. Thank you, and have a great day.